Yeah, I wonder what this video is about. Welcome to mikeybalzz Fishing. What's going on, guys? You can see I'm a little scruffy. You guys can relate to this. I haven't shaved in like a week, and you know why that is? Because the bite's good. All I want to do is go fish. I smell like I live under a bridge. I probably need a shower. I needed one 3 days ago. But, you know, you get through your daily life to just get to the ramp, you know? It's like, oh, I got to sleep. Okay, well, then I can go fish. You guys can relate. But we're going to talk about something fun today. I don't have a million perspectives. I don't know everything. But what I'm going to share with you, late summer is a great time to throw topwaters, dude. Whether it's a spook, popper, whatever. Like hard bait topwaters. You catch a bunch of fish. It's an awesome bite. They're schooling. They're blowing up on top. And whether you're up north, down south, it works, dude. But there's a few like little tweaks and stuff, like do's and don'ts that you can do with a topwater that increase your hookups, make the bait work better. I'm going to show you something that actually makes the bait like move better, and you get more action out of the exact same bait that everybody else is throwing, and you just catch more fish, dude. It's a fun bite. They go sploosh, you go like that, and it's awesome. But what we're going to do that's a little bit different, the first thing that I want to do, I have a clip of catching a bass on a spook. It's like a 6.5, 7 pounder, big fish, dude. And it smashed it. But it illustrates probably one of the biggest do's when it comes to topwater fishing, and you're going to pick up on it real quick. So let's roll that footage. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. A lot of you guys aren't subscribed to the videos. Hit that subscribe button. Let's roll footage. Whoa! Stay on there. That was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. That joker annihilated it, and I saw him run straight across. He hit it twice and blew it out of the water, and then came back and got it again. Let's get her back though. It's pretty warm. She is full of fight. So what you just saw is like a 6.5, 7 pounder on this guy right here. This is a jackal. I forget what it's called. It's called a bow stick or a bow stick. It's kind of a cool bait. You can see, you see me right through here. There's actually a hole in the side of it, and it creates bubbles. And if you guys throw like a buzz bait or anything like that, you know that bubbles and getting that right kind of blub. We've talked. You guys make fun of me for my sounds, but getting that right kind of blub is huge when it comes to topwater fishing. And this is a spook style walk the dog bait, but it gets a little bit different blub. But before we get to all the details and why I guess like the do's part of it, the biggest do when it comes to throwing a topwater hard bait this time of year, and the video clip that I just showed you illustrates it perfectly. If you saw that fish came out and bonked this thing out of the water, it just nose tapped it, dude, and the bait popped out of the water. But guess what happened? The bass didn't actually get it. It didn't get hooked. It didn't eat it. And it is the hardest thing to do in topwater fishing, but not pulling the bait, not setting the hook, holding off. It's just like, oh my God, I want to set the hook. But the trick is a lot of times these fish will actually kind of make this knocking motion, and they do it a lot when it comes to a frog. I got a popping frog right here. You see it a lot more with a frog, but you do see it with a hard bait as well. They'll actually knock it out of the water. I don't know if it's to like paralyze what they think is like a brim or like I don't know, a shad. People are calling me about the topwater bite. I don't know why they actually do it. I think it's a kill mechanism, but they knock the bait out of the water to sort of stun it, and then they come back and get it. So that's exactly what this fish did in this video, and the key to actually hooking it was not setting the hook. And it's something that you can apply to a frog, a hard bait, whatever. But one of the biggest do's in topwater fishing is waiting till you feel tension, waiting till you feel that fish actually has the bait, because you can see kersploosh back and forth and them smashing the bait, and they actually don't have it yet. So until you actually feel tension, never set the hook. And I guess that leads to kind of the other thing. You really don't set the hook with a topwater. On a frog, you actually do, because the hooks are kind of like buried up in that frog, and oftentimes you're fishing it in thicker cover. So this is actually a 7.2 heavy. It's a little heavier rod. But when I'm throwing like a hard bait topwater, this is like a cheap Halo Rave. It's a parabolic bend. It's medium action, but it's a very like soft kind of flexy rod. And I use this because I look at topwater fishing a lot like kind of crankbait or chatterbait fishing, where you want to actually feel for that weight and let that fish pull the bait down before you actually pull on them. And the hook set on a topwater is really you just kind of leaning. You notice I didn't really pull on that fish or set the hook. I just kind of reeled down and put tension on it. So that leads to another do. I would recommend throwing braid almost 90% of the time when it comes to topwater fishing. The reason is you get better cast, longer cast. You get better hook sets because you're really not setting the hook. You're just drawing tension on it, and that no stretch in the braid allows you to set up or like hook that fish a lot better. And really, it's a reaction strike. I don't think they care as much about the braid. If you're really feeling like, oh no, they're seeing the line, you can put, I got this one tied straight to braid, but you can put like a 15, 12 pound monofilament leader on there. Monofilament floats, so it'll stay above the water, not like fluorocarbon, but it's a clearer line, so you can get a little more finesse with it. The only issue with that is when you actually tie your leader knot, it has a little trouble going through the rod guides, and you're gonna rat nest from time to time. But I'd say 90% of the time, you can get away with braid, just throwing straight braid, even if you're on super clear water. So let's break down a few other things. The other thing too, so we talked about a rod. Let's talk about reels. This is almost like flipping or something like that. You want to be able to pick up a bunch of line. This is my Shimano SLX. This is a 721, but you want to be using either like a 721, an 821, like a faster reel. Two reasons. One, to pick up the line, because especially say like on like a spook style bait, you're picking up line and you're walking that thing back and forth. Wow, you're getting bombed by planes too. Flying over, but you're walking that thing back and forth, and you're using the rod tip, and you want to be able to pick up that line in between your twitches with the rod tip in order to walk that thing correctly. The other thing is too, and you probably saw it in that clip, is that fish literally took the bait and just swam off. I had to catch up with that fish in order to actually draw and like set the hook with the rod. So being able to pick up that line, it's especially important with a frog because they'll suck it up and go straight down, and you'll actually feel slack in the line. You got to reel down and set the hook. But that higher speed reel really allows you to pick up that line, a lot like flipping when you feel that thump. So a higher speed reel, braid. I'd recommend a little softer rod that has a little more parabolic, action to it, a little more taper. So basically the rod bends throughout the rod. The other thing that I do, and this is exactly what I was doing in the video, is I like running, this is one of those owner welded clips. I like doing it for two different reasons, and you guys have seen it in the crankbait videos before. So I'm all about being efficient. Sometimes I want to switch out baits. You can see I got a million different topwater baits, and we're going to go through and we're going to talk about these. These are my basics and essentials. I'm sure I'm missing a few, but this is what I use. So being able to switch out those topwaters really quick is nice with that clip. The other thing that I truly believe in, you'll see I actually took the split ring off of this guy. Some of these baits do have split rings on them. But I think that guy, I tie just a straight Palomar with a braid onto there. But I think that clip allows free movement of the bait, and it really allows it to walk and twitch a little differently. So you get better actions out of these topwaters. A lot of them do this walking action, and having them be able to have a little bit of slack or a little bit of like looseness when you're actually twitching the bait back and forth really adds to that back and forth action, and that's why I think that clip comes into play. You're usually not like dragging them out of a huge amount of cover or anything like that. I think the clips I use are rated like 48 pounds or something like that. I've never opened them up or bent them. I've never had a problem with them, and I've used them both crankbait fishing as well as topwater fishing. But it just gives the bait a lot more action and allows you to switch out on lures a lot easier and a lot quicker. So with that being said, let's talk about some of the stuff that I got in my box. The first topwater that, if you're beginning at this, have like a spook. You can't beat a spook style bait, whether it's your classic Zara spook. Like I said, this is the Jackal bow stick, or bow stick, however you want to say it. But a walk the dog bait, I got a couple more in here actually. This is a Strike King Sexy Dog. This guy actually tends to get a little tighter walk. It's a little more subtle. You can see it's flat right there, and it has more of a pitched body. It's thinner than the bow stick or classic spook. So it actually has, ow, that felt great, dude. It has a tighter back and forth, and it doesn't push as much water. It won't get any as much as sploosh, I guess, as much as blub blub, kind of as your spook style baits. I like this when the water's a little bit clearer and the jokers aren't like blasting out of the water. It's just a little more subtle. Then you have, this is actually a Demiki style spook. And when you start throwing these, you're going to notice how they have different actions based upon the body and then based upon the nose. This is kind of like the Repo Man. Dude, I had an old Paycheck Baits Repo Man, the original. That's probably one of the best spooks ever made, and you can't get them anymore. The Vixen, I think Reaction Innovation makes it now, is almost equivalent. I actually don't have any. I have some on order. But that's probably one of the best spook style baits. It has kind of a boing sound like that. If you hear it, it's got one ball in it that just goes back and forth. Makes it really good to cast, as well as it just draws strikes. It's that one knocker concept. But the different body shapes, as well as those different noses, are going to give you different walk styles in the water. And you'll notice when you're fishing these guys, like sometimes the fish will swipe at it and miss it. That's when you're going to want to start playing with body shapes to kind of mix it up. But have yourself a spook style bait. That's one of the most standard, and it works everywhere, style baits. Don't be intimidated by size either. You notice these are a bit bigger. I'll throw these in Florida, Alabama. I'll throw them on Smith Lake for spots even. It's more of kind of getting that sploosh and that action on top of the water, and the fish are going to swipe at it. They're not always going to like really eat it. It's more of drawing those strikes up, and using a little bigger bait displaces a lot more water, and if they're committed to a topwater, they're going to smash it. I do also have some smaller ones that I got to throw a shout out to my buddy Jack Stein. He recommended, he uses this for smallmouth. It's a totally clear, it's a Super Spook Junior. It's a little baby spook. It's actually a saltwater bait. I'll put links to all these down at Tackle Warehouse for you to check out. On these guys, definitely change out the hooks, and that's something I actually forgot to mention. On all of these baits, I'm changing out the hooks to triple grips, Mustad triple grips. You got to be careful with hook sizes though. If you use too big of hooks, you can screw up the actions on these. So you do need to play with hook sizes. I have a little bit bigger ones on these. I haven't swapped the ones out on these, but I'm going to have to use smaller ones on the smaller bait. But just a clear bait, because really they're hitting the silhouette. They're attacking the silhouette and the sound, not so much what it looks like. I'm not a huge believer in like colors, you know, have something that kind of looks like a brim or a shad. Have something maybe like white. Got something in ghost shad. The clear though, if you got super clear water, can be sweet because like I said, they're attacking the silhouette, not the actual bait itself. And actually this comes out to another one that I absolutely love. So this guy is a Lucky Craft, what is this? The Gunfish. This is kind of a fusion between a popping style bait and a spook. It walks like a spook, but it spits a little bit. If you got shad in your lake, this is an absolute killer. If you guys go back in a few videos, quite a ways back actually, out on Smith Lake, the little smaller size gunfish, I absolutely wrecked them. Once again, just a little spitting head, but this guy walks back and forth. Absolutely killer topwater, especially this time of year. The other style is I think this is the Savage Gear version, but basically a whopper plopper style bait. Berkeley makes one, the choppo. It's a tail style bait. What's different about this guy compared to our walking style baits that I showed you, like the spook, this guy you just cast out and you pretty much just reel it in. That tail creates a bubbling or a buzzbait style action, blub, 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 blub. And you can also twitch it and make it sort of spit water as well. But there's a couple different sizes of this. Once again, don't be intimidated by size. They're hitting the silhouette. That's something actually, that's a big do to remember. Like, or don't, I guess. Don't be intimidated by bait size. We talk about it with that nickel spoon, with swim baits, with big crankbaits. They're eating the bait, but they're hitting the silhouette. They're reacting to the silhouette. But basically like a tail kicking buzzbait style bait. And it's something that you actually are going to reel instead of twitch. And then the other guys, there's actually two of them. And I'm going to show you actually a little mod for this guy. So this is just your blade style bait. I believe it's a balsa bee, I want to say. It's a custom balsa style sort of blade bait. Absolutely killer if you have brim, spawning, bedding, or bluegill in late summer. This guy, what you're going to do with it, it doesn't walk as much, but what you do is you just make slight, subtle twitches, and these blades just make a little blub, blub, blub. It's a very subtle bait, and you have to fish it pretty slow, but a devil's horse is another example. The problem with these guys, though, even if you use the clip that I recommended, the braid gets wrapped up in these blades, and I'm going to show you a fix for that, just a little mod that you can do. It's an easy, quick, super fast fix, but I'm going to show that to you in a minute once we get through all these. The other guy, too, and this is a super duper classic. That's a Pop R, a Rebel Pop R. There is something about this classic OG bait that just catches them, dude. Once again, it's that same style retrieve where you just blop, blop, and you got to get down kind of a cadence, because what this does is that cupped bill or that cupped head kicks water and blubs, basically. It chugs, basically. And you kind of got to get whether they want it like rough, like blosh, and where you're kicking up a bunch of water, or if they just want it kind of subtle. You will get a little bit of back and forth from this, but it's not going to walk nearly as much as your spook style baits. But, you know, Pop R, that tail style buzz bait, like a whopper, plopper, the fusion style baits, Lucky Craft, gunfish, like this guy with that pop style nose, and then a spook. Like, those are your basic top waters. Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule, but those are your basic top waters, and you don't need them in a bunch of colors. Usually, I go with something like light, like a shad, or like a white with green that can mimic bluegill, and then black, because those are the two kind of silhouettes. It's either going to be like a shad or a brim style bait on top. I think, in my opinion, it's kind of like plastics. You can stay pretty simple with it. There's definitely some tweak colors that you can try, some weird stuff. But really, especially if you're just getting into it, those will cover you for 90% of your situations. So like I said, these blade style baits catch some absolute mondos. And they're epic to throw. They're fun to throw, especially when you get into the rhythm with the cadence kind of to make the blades go. But the trick is they get wrapped. When you throw them on straight braid, the noses get wrapped with the braid when you're retrieving it or when you're casting it. And it's just annoying because these are like really take a process to throw. You really got to throw them and fish them slow. And it's kind of annoying. And when you're getting braid wrapped around the blades, it really makes the process more inhibitive. It's just annoying, dude, like, to be perfectly honest. So I'm going to show you one mod. I would recommend you go check out JT Kenny's got a mod that he does with, if you guys know what like WD-40 tubing is, like, you know, the stuff you use, like you got your can and then it has that red sort of nozzle that you put on there. So what he does is he takes a bobber stopper and puts it in front of the line right here, and then first he slides a little piece of that tubing onto the line and then puts a bobber stopper in front of it. What that does is it makes for a straight section of line in front of that top water, and it keeps that line from wrapping. I have a little bit different mod that I do. It's a little more permanent, but it leaves a little bit of flexibility in the line, and I think personally it allows the bait to get a little more back and forth action when you're fishing it. So what I got right here is, I was trolling around on Tackle Warehouse a long time ago, and my buddy Joe Holland, actually shout out to him, he's the one who put me on it initially. So what we found is we do a lot of flipping and stuff in Florida, so we use a lot of like slide on bobber stoppers like that. So I was trolling around in the terminal tackle section on Tackle Warehouse, and we found these guys. What these are the same concept as bobber stoppers. You see, you put your line right through that metal hole and draw it through, and then you slide on the little rubber stoppers right there. These are actually made for doing, I believe, what it's called mojo rigging. It's a California or West Coast technique where you put little pieces of split shot or like little barrel weights on. It's kind of like a finesse Carolina rigging. But what you actually do is, let me grab a bait and I'm going to show you the process. So what you're actually going to do is, there's two stoppers on each one of these metal poles right here. So see that loop right there? I don't know if you can see that with the camera, but you're going to slide your line through just like you're putting on a regular bobber stopper, just like that. And then you're going to take and you're going to slide both of those stoppers on. You can see they slid right onto the line. I got both those black stoppers. Now I'm going to tie on my blade style bait right here, my balsa bee, real quick. And what you're gonna see is it keeps the line straight in front of the balsa B, and it inhibits the line from kind of making loops and sort of backing out against the blades, which is the biggest problem with these blade style baits. So I'm gonna tie a little Palomar real quick here. And that is the knot that I use on basically all these guys, because usually I'm just tying a clip on for the most part. But there we go, tie it down. And we're just gonna give it a little clip here. So once you got the bait tied on there, see it's already wrapping around. You can see it, actually that's a perfect illustration. It already was wrapping around the blades. So you're gonna slide these guys down so they're right in front of the bait. And you see what that does? It's kind of cool, dude. So it keeps that bait, it keeps that line, it's still flexible, but it's not gonna, it just creates like a buffer of about an inch or so where that line's not gonna back and just back loop around that blade right there. So you can throw a popper, or I'm sorry, not a popper, but a blade bait, but you don't have to put, JT actually puts tubing right on there with a bobber stopper in front of it, but this kind of saves you from doing that. The only problem is though, if you pick up another topwater and want to put it on, then you got to remove them so you get that sort of fluidity of movement. But it's a cool little fix. I'll put a link to it down in Tackle Warehouse. But especially if you're fishing in Florida or in spring, a devil's horse or a blade bait like this, or in late summer, is absolutely killer. And it's something you're going to have tied on all day, so you can get your rod set up. This is 40-pound braid. And you don't have to worry about all that wrapping up around the blades. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Topwater fishing this time of year is one, it's a great pattern to be on. There's a lot of fish schooling. There's a lot of fish up towards the surface, especially in the morning or late afternoons. And you can catch some mondos. For some reason, that topwater bite, especially right before fall, just gets stupid. I don't know if it's because the surface temp starts cooling a little bit. It draws the bait up there. Or if, there's a bunch of brim bedding late summer. I don't know all of the reasons. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but it's an absolutely killer bite to be on, even if it's not a pattern that's going to win a tournament. It's a pattern that will put a giant grin on your face when you get bit, because they go, like the video I showed you, dude. Like, they smash it. And they'll smash it out of nowhere, too, which is one of the crazier things that I've seen. If they're not schooling, you'll be, like, walking that bait down, and it'll just be like, oh, yeah, I haven't gotten a bite in 30... And then it's just like, that was awesome. And that's a pretty darn big fish. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you do. It's a grassroots channel. It's literally based on your support. And you guys subbing, subscribing, leaving comments, always kind of like, I don't know, it motivates me, dude, and it really supports kind of real fishing, and we've talked about it in the past. But as usual, I want your feedback, because you guys, as a conglomerate, know a lot more than me. If there's a topwater that I missed, or a little tweak or something that you think is cool that I didn't touch upon, definitely drop it down in the comments box. A lot of these guys who are watching these videos read the comments. I read the comments to pick up on your tips. So drop your tips down in the comments box so we got something to review. I'll put links to everything down in Tackle Warehouse. Thank you guys for watching, though. We'll catch up with you with some more. I got some epic fishing coming for you, dude. So stay tuned for that. But tight lines for now. I'll give Bog a pat for you. Peace.